From the once mythical Komodo Dragon
to possible evidence of a mythical lost tribe.
Here are 10 strangest cryptids from Indonesia. Hey, before we start up, here's a shout out to Sharkcaster Wood asking for an episode about cryptids from Indonesia. And we'll even throw you in a little bonus there. Thanks for being a subscriber, and if you have an epic idea for an episode, you already know what to do. Cheers. Number 10. Feyo. It's said you can find this critter on the island of Rinca. It resembles an anteater or a pangolin, but is around the size of a horse. While pangolins these days do not achieve that size, evidence of the critters growing to 8 feet has allegedly been found on the islands of Borneo and Java. Now that's an extinct species commonly called the Asian giant pangolin. Isolated sightings of the Feyo claim the critter has superficial similarities to relic dinosaurs like Stegosaurus. Not unlike an anteater, it dines on ants as well as termites. They live in the mountains and only come out at night. Number 9. Javanese wolf. Incomplete remains of this prehistoric canine have been found on Java and date as far back as 800,000 years. While the remains don't allow for a generalized reconstruction of the canid, cryptozoologists think it would likely be larger than a modern wild dog. Sightings of the creature have also been reported in Malaysia. A pack of these creatures is said to have attacked a motorcyclist, causing her to veer off-road and crash. After being taken to the hospital and released, her condition suddenly worsened. Accounts are a little sketchy on this one, but it appears the victim died from the attack. Number 8. Cactung. In the West Kalimantan province of Indonesia, there's a cryptid thought to be a subspecies of clouded leopard, but not everyone can see the creature. Most people will only hear an echoing sound described as kung. Some who have experienced this say they would often hear the sound around midnight. Others say they'll hear the noise anytime they're in close proximity to the jungle where the creature is said to inhabit. Witnesses describe the cactung as being leopard-like, black skin, and an immense body. It's said the creature's vocalizations can portend whether or not a harvest will be plentiful or scarce. Number 7. Banaspati. Hope I got that right. Well, since ancient times, this entity has been witnessed by many people across Indonesia. It's sometimes described as a skull with fireballs floating around it, but most accounts say it resembles a red-skinned humanoid with sharp horns, which seems to invite comparisons to certain descriptions of Satan found in Western culture. The creatures are known to inhabit shadowy environments like the deep woods where it lives in the trees. They're known to drop down from the trees to scare away travelers, and it's thought the Banaspati feed off the victim's strong emotions like anger or fear. Because they can release fireballs that burn anything they touch, they're considered a dangerous entity. Supposedly, sightings of these creatures continue to the present day, but they're normally reported only face-to-face, never through the mass media. Number 6. The Dingiso. Known as a legendary ancestral spirit of the Moni people from western Indonesia, it's covered with black hair and white fur, and it resembles a small hominid, earned it the nickname Man of the Forests. While it's more at home in the trees, it often assumes a bipedal stance while on the ground. In the 1980s, a photo of the critter was initially identified as a small tree kangaroo by an Australian researcher. More than a decade later, and this time determined the critter in the picture was entirely new to science. It's now identified as the Dingiso, a marsupial that spends most of its time in the forest, and whose fur displays that distinct black and white coloration. Although identified, it's still rarely seen, and the creature still has not been captured. Number 5. Cigau. Also known as the Sumatran golden lion, this cryptid is said to be a mid-sized carnivorous cat found on that island. As befits its common name, the critter has fur described as golden in color, but has no spots or other markings. Smaller, but built stockier than a tiger, it's said to be highly aggressive and is known to attack humans. Its description often matches that of a liger, or lion-tiger hybrid. Some cryptozoologists also think it could be a subspecies of the endangered Asiatic lion. A notable human encounter with the animal occurred in the 1960s when it allegedly entered a camp and dragged away a man into the forest. It was observed to have a silvery, lion-like mane and forelegs longer than its back legs. When the victim's comrades finally located him in the jungle, he had been disemboweled by the Cigau. Number 4. The Murray monster. This cryptid is named for Lake Murray in Papua New Guinea, but it has also been linked to the Western Indonesian section of the island as well. It was first spotted by village locals and is described as being an amphibious bipedal creature with short forelimbs and legs as huge as palm tree trunks. Additional accounts say it's around 6 feet wide and, quote, as long as a dump truck with a long neck and slender tail. Now, see if the following sounds at all familiar. The Murray monster has teeth as long as a human finger, rough skin like a crocodile, and what is described as a series of triangular scoops running along its back. Now, if all that makes you think of a T-Rex, join the club. Some cryptozoologists have speculated it just might be a specimen that somehow managed to avoid extinction. After the creature was reported attacking dogs in the vicinity, police and villagers formed a search party but found nothing. In 2000, reports from Western New Guinea indicated that natives associated images of dinosaurs with the lake monster. The last reported sighting we found regarding the Murray monster occurred in 2013.
Arang Batty and ahul. Arang Batty are flying creatures that are often referred to as orangutans with wings, due to their resemblance to bats and apes. Sightings date back to the 15th century when they were seen by missionaries there. According to Indonesian folklore, they're located on the island of Sarawak, where they are said to abduct children from villages at night. Locals describe them as having blood-red skin, leathery wings, and standing around 5 feet tall with a long tail. These cryptids are similar to another creature known as the ahul. Those are described as flying primates that are found in Java and Vietnam. Not unlike the ahul, the Arang Batty seem to resemble pterosaurs and could possibly represent a lost specimen of such. Cryptozoologists have also speculated either critter could have some relation to a large flying fox, which are the largest bats in the world. Gogo. These are smaller humanoid creatures found in the mythology of Flores, Indonesia. Ebu means grandmother, and Gogo means he who eats anything. Although we're told that a rough translation might be Granny Glutton. Standing almost 5 feet tall, they're said to have broad faces with flat noses and wide mouths. They would murmur in a sound assumed to be their language, and reports suggest they could repeat back what was spoken to them, albeit in a parrot-like fashion. Locals believed the creatures were alive when Portuguese trading ships arrived in the 17th century. While sightings occurred through the 20th century, Gogo seemed to have vanished. But in just a bit, we'll talk about how these cryptids might have a relation to some hobbit-like remains found on the island of Flores, and might even tie in with another mysterious group of humanoids. And before getting to our number 1 selection, we have to give an honorable mention to the Komodo Dragon. It's a real-life critter, but did you know that at one time it was considered a cryptid? Rumors of a huge prehistoric reptile slithering around the island of Komodo were just that until 1910. That's when a 6-foot specimen was captured and killed. Now the beast is recognized as the largest living species of lizard in the world, measuring some 10 feet long and weighing around 150 pounds. And it's not shy about taking on humans. Little People, a strange, half-naked humanoid, was spotted by some bikers running along a dirt road in the northern part of Sumatra. Witnesses referred to him as a tribesman, which prompted locals to wonder if the figure might belong to a group of natives known as the Mondhead. They're considered to be a mythical tribe of forest dwellers, thought to have the stature of pygmies, and are known to flee whenever they see intruders from the outside world. We could only find one recorded contact with the Mondhead, and that dates to the 17th century. That's when 2 tribesmen were allegedly captured and received by a sultan. And while many consider the Mondhead tribe to be a legend, maybe there's another possibility. The figure spotted recently might have had some relation to an ancient race of hobbit-like humans on the island of Flores in Indonesia. Remains dated at around 50,000 years old were found there and indicated these creatures stood around 3.5 feet tall. Could there be a connection between those creatures, the Gogo, and the Mondhead tribe?